Howdy, guys. It looks like we are live. I'm going to go ahead and double check here just one more time. And yeah, so it looks like we're live on Facebook and YouTube. We also started posting a couple things on LinkedIn. So if you guys see us out there, we haven't done much of that in the past couple weeks. We're getting there. So we're just kind of taking it one day, one step at a time, right, Matt? So
Yeah. All right.
yeah, well, it's exciting to see all of you guys, and so I'm here joined by Matt, who's holding Topo Chico in his hands.
Tapa Chico to you, good sir.
It's good to see everyone, and yeah. So before we get started, anything we need to mention, Matt?
Well, I just, I guess to start off there with, just getting done with Memorial Day there. A lot of people had the day off here in the U.S. there, and important day to look back at our history and those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, and those families impacted as well too that continue to give the sacrifice. And just thankful for their service. So thankful for the freedom that we live in here. Last time we talked a lot about community, the importance of community, and unfortunately, we've seen in different parts of the world where that's broken down, whether it's international and the war in Ukraine, or at home with some of the school shootings and the tragedies there. But it's important to have community. We're glad you're part of this community if you're joining us, and welcome to the club here. And hope that you want to grow with us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot going on in the world. I think you're right, Matt. And we're gonna discuss that today. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention one more thing. As we keep mentioning to you, we're kind of taking it a little slower than we probably should, one step at a time. We are at the point where we've got the website up and running, right? And so we haven't done much of a promotion or anything like that. We're just kind of still testing it. But let me show you. Let me show you what it looks like. And so this is where you can find it. It's growth.clinic. Very simple. So you're watching Growth Clinic live right now, and so it's growth.clinic. And so it's fairly straightforward. Let me show you some of the parts of it. There's events out here. We're going to post more details. Go to the section here. It's going to say sign up or log in. Once you log in, you're going to be greeted by and we keep talking about tracking your results, right? So if we talk about growth and we talk about running a certain operation or organization, a part of organization, whatever it may be for you, we're always talking about tracking certain things, right? And so we would love to track. Be it here, be it, in any sort of Excel spreadsheet, we want to track certain KPIs, right? So revenue being, profit, revenue, anything like that being primary. Things that generate revenue, be it active users, leads, things like that, they essentially get to be converted into something tangible as far as end funds, but also website visitors, right? We say that it's important. So this is essentially almost like our customer journey that we've been discussing. So you start with awareness, you go into research, selection, things like that. And so think of this dashboard as kind of mimicking that. And so then you track, how many visitors you've spoken to. How do you feel? Because it's important how you feel, right, man? We've discussed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So if you don't have energy, if you don't have desire to wake up in the morning, I mean, what's the point of running anything, right? So, but yeah, so it's important. Take care of yourself, take care of others. That's essentially why we are all here, right? So one last thing I wanted to show you guys on the website is if you go to again, you'll have to log in, but there's a news section right here. So we discuss news on a regular basis here with you guys, right? This is where you can find all this news, and this is a pretty robust archive now of just all kinds of relevant stuff. There's everything and anything from growth, global economy, business, tech, mindset, and other things. So if you guys think of other subjects, other things you want us to include here, you are welcome. Let us know. We're all ears. And also, let me show you one last piece. It's called resources. So we keep adding certain things in here. So the book section is up. This is where you can find all the kind of growth mindset, growth related, marketing related, lean related, as you can see, profit strategy related books and things like that. And so, go out there. It's growth.clinic, and you can find all this useful, cool information that we put out there for you. So Well, and with this said, yeah, Matt, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great, Anton. There, kudos to you, your team. That I know it's working hard there to put out the news articles out there. Um, I'll come across these articles during the week, and I'll note that, and I want to come back to it, talk about it on the show, and then I just go out to the news there, and you've already have a lot of those articles marked there. You, the others that are helping you out there. So great job with that. Great tip on the Pocket app that you told me about, as far as, hey, you come across an article, it's great to have on your phone. You can just save it, whether you're in LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever news site that you're at. You can mark it, come back to it, organize it, tag it. It's great, great little pro tip there, Anton. Thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, and again, we'll keep posting more information like that, and so you guys can kind of stay in touch. Our Slack channel is gonna go a little more active. I know it's been a little dormant, but we're gonna reactivate that, and yeah, we'll definitely just kind of go from there. So, well, with this said, Matt, I think we are ready to get started, right? Let's go.
Let's do it. All right.
Let's grow together.
All right, so and since we kind of touch base on the organizational part, let's jump straight into the news. Let me pull up my notes here because there's a lot we're gonna discuss here today, right? So let's go ahead and get started, guys, with the fact that I think you've seen the news all over the place by now, and so there's all kinds of stuff that's going on when it comes to global markets, right? So we've noticed that in our country here in the U.S., Europe is connected to that as well, and just all over the world, there's something going on with prices going up and markets slowing down. Lots of central banks are kind of taking action in terms of increasing their key interest rate, which is the interest rate that banks are borrowing money at, right? And so, but what's interesting is that just the most recent information about that I found on the inflation, right? So we're all kind of concerned about U.S. inflation and Europe inflation. Well, U.S. and Europe inflation, they're roughly just slightly higher than 8%, right? And there's a little bit of a lag as far as reporting, and so we think, again, that's roughly where it is right now. But check this out. So Argentina, again, we're speaking about pretty good size countries out here. We're not just talking about the smaller Eastern European kind of countries out here. So Argentina, 58% inflation. That's pretty high. Turkey is at 70. Now that's a straightforward spiral right there. If they don't stop it, and if it's not like artificially created or anything, then hey, you just never know where that's going to take such a, again, pretty good sized country, as an important country, as a NATO member country as Turkey, right? So Europe overall is higher. So a lot of Eastern European countries, let me put it this way, our inflation is higher than 10%, right? Which is pretty high. Brazil, again, we're talking about huge, large countries out there. Brazil is at 12%. Chile is at 10.5. So it looks like there's something going on out there. We know that part of it is, we're not being as productive, right, as like kind of human resources in economies. In the past couple of years, it's been just all over the place. China is still battling that, right? Tesla factory keeps going open and closed. But yeah, so if you feel like there's a little bit of instability in the system kind of built externally for you, well, just know you're not alone, right? And so we see central banks kind of taking certain actions in terms of, again, increasing interest rates. And Matt, what is it? They're talking about an additional couple of 0.5% increases in the next few months, right?
Yeah, probably another couple half point increments going up, right? The Fed wants to push that up to 3%, right, as baseline interest rate. And that gives the Fed a little bit of ammo if we do hit a recession in the future here, right, to pull that back down. But that assumes that this doesn't plunge us into recession with everything that's going on around the world, the volatility. It's not as easy just to raise the rates. China, I'm not sure if you've seen that yet, but China actually just lowered their rates too there, because they've really kind of slowed up. Their housing has gotten soft. Things on lockdown there with COVID, right? Very different handling of the economies around the world, right? The U.S. was printing money left and right? China was going into aggressive lockdown. So we're not all coming out of this exactly together, right? Typically, if you go into recession, a lot of times, all right, Europe's going into recession, U.S. is going to recession. Like it kind of daisy chains together here. But this will be interesting how each country is going to handle the situation, and does that create maybe some more uncertainty, more instability coming out of this? But very different reasons for inflation, right? Argentina, probably different reasons than what's going on in Chile and in the U.S. there. Argentina has a long history as far as inflation, accelerated inflation there. Very different economy. A friend from there in Chattanooga, coffee shop, Gustavo is his nickname there. But
Hey,
he tells me a
Gustavo.
lot about what's went on in Argentina. He's from there. He teaches at the university there, and just very different way of government. If you own a property and the person can't pay, well, you'd go to kick them out, and the government says, well, you have two properties here, and it seems kind of selfish, that you're kicking out here, so we're not going to help kick you out, and some of that wealth has to be shared, and we're just going to print some more money, but we're not really going to produce any more goods or services. And so I don't think the U.S. has gone that far on things here, but it is a little bit unsettling when you have inflation up at 8.5%, slowing up, as the media says, to 8.3%, but that's still pretty staggering historically, right, for U.S. inflation there. So, yeah, will be interesting to see how we kind of work our way out of that. Really depends on the economy here in the next couple quarters. Some things are going to be resolved, right, with Ukraine and Russia? Is there going to be some underlying strength with real estate and the markets there that's so far has held up, fairly well given all the other markets? So stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted, keep talking about it. But it's choppy waters, I would definitely say, out there right now.
Yeah, it is. At the same time, I think it's worth saying that we're not facing any sort of '08 type depression, right? So this economic slowdown and market slowdown has a lot to do with just the external environment and certain very specific set of circumstances, right? So we're not, like, unemployment is not high, right? And so if you're expecting, like, if some of you have been traumatized with '08 crisis, we're not facing anything that's nearly like that. But at the same time, with the more uncertainty in the system, you just never know how long and where that's gonna take you. And of course, again, speaking about an additional news kind of build up on top of that, right? Once the economy is not doing well globally, right? We're going through a certain situation, so to say, right? On top of that, I mean, we are facing the war, and what's happening right now is that war in Ukraine and that was started by Russia, just turns into this global thing, right? So let's go into the news where, again, as of today, Europe caught most of Russian oil. And let me remind you that Russian economy is built primarily on what do you call those? Basically oil and gas. So half of their economy is oil and gas. If most of that is being cut at this point, I think it's more than half is what they're trying to say, basically. Then what are we expecting out of what's happening in Ukraine by Russia, right? So we're saying that the war will not last as long. We hope so, right? I mean, me being Ukrainian, and you can see all the Ukrainian flags out there. I'm very much supportive and have a lot of friends out there. It's not fun, and especially so. Just speaking about that for a second, last week was pretty rough in Ukraine, and so their Russians were able to find some additional forces. They moved them to a very specific, precise location, and they kind of focused their effort in one particular area. In that particular area, I mean, they're making progress, and so that's not. That's not good news for anyone at this point. And so, but anyway, so Europe, if you go to a website of Central Bank of Europe, EUCB, I think it's, and then you're going to see this big banner out there that just says, hey, European economy is in trouble because of Russian aggression, and so That's why you probably going to see some monetary policy discussions around, their interest rate. The key interest rate is pretty low at this point. So I think they're at zero when it comes to lending to corporations, like 0%. You got to qualify to borrow these kind of funds, but it's zero. Yeah, it's a no API has no interest kind of borrowing, and so you can imagine what that gets, how that kind of aids their economy, and has been aiding economy. So again, the question is, will the war end soon, right? If the most of the oil is caught, right? What's Russia going to do in the next couple of months, essentially, the next few months? So will oil prices going to keep going up, right? So that's a big question, and we know that oil component is in everything, is in plastics, is in transportation, and transportation component is in every single piece that you consume, right? And so, but at the same time, I mean, so that's short term, right? So next 6 months is going to be pretty rough. Not by our choice any means, right? There's one individual human being with unbalanced power decided to do this to all of us. Just think of that. But let's also think maybe a little bit more long term. Once Putin is gone, and we hope he's going to be gone fairly soon. Speaking from some pain here, so to say. But what's going to happen to, say, green energy going forward? So the oil is up. We see that it becomes like a matter of national security, right? To be dependent on Russian oil, things like that. What is going to happen to green energy? Are we gonna see the uptick and more interest from investor community for green energy and EVs, any sort of green energy technologies out there, right? So. So why don't we? And we're about to jump into our next piece here to discuss about the EVs and things like that. But before that, Matt, I've noticed here in the notes you've got the announcement by Walmart, right? So speaking about the green technology and electronics and things like that. And so tell us maybe a little bit more about the Walmart and what they're trying to figure out. And then have you been using their services?
Yeah. Well, you talk about energy and the impacts on the global economy and impacts on war. You look through history, and especially current, energy security dependency, right, has been major factors in causing war. And if we get to a point where each country is less energy dependent on another, they're self-sustaining, right? That's very good for almost all economies, right? Except for Russia, that basically is a giant gas station, right, for the rest of the world, right? If they didn't have oil, this wouldn't be nearly as much of an issue here. It just causes havoc. So the quicker we can get to energy kind of independence at each country, just good for the environment, just good for a whole lot of reasons here, right? But just purely from an economic, global security standpoint, extremely important as well too, right? And I think for some people that's even more compelling than, let's say, global warming or other issues. Like, there's just a lot of tailwinds for doing this. So I think you're going to continue to see investments in those areas and a lot of support for that strategically for each country. Just makes a lot of sense there. So, but part of that energy, right, instead of pumping it out of the ground here, electric, right, is going into all these different types of equipment, machinery, Tesla cars, drones as well too, right? They can get up there, they can go for 20 minutes or so. But Walmart just announcing this week, kind of coming out of nowhere here, right? You hear about Amazon and drones, but Walmart is really taking the lead here, jumping ahead, expanding out into multiple states here by the end of the year. It's already been in some markets with drone delivery. And you're like, how is this possible, right? Because under the Amazon model, Amazon is primarily focused around cities, right? Tight urban spaces, get your delivery within 24 hours. Now, a lot of places, 4 hours or less, right? But you try taking a drone into Manhattan and trying to figure out where to land that thing or drop off a package, not happening, right? But Walmart is very rural focused, right? Like, you're not going to find a Walmart in downtown, Manhattan, right? Walmart is more kind of in the rural outskirts. So they're able to therefore use the drone systems, right, to make deliveries, less populated area, less risk. It's operated by actual drone operators, licensed drone operators. Anton, I know you're a drone operator, right? You've got
yes,
your
sir.
license,
Yes, sir. That's right.
Required to do certain work, and it's no cakewalk, right? Like, it's not just a hey, take this online test, right? It's like it's work. I mean, you get your license right from the FAA, and um, if you think about anybody trying to shoot down a drone, that's federal felony, right there, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but for safety purposes on delivering here, it's a drone pilot delivering it out there. It's lowered down, kind of a tether type system, right? To
Hmm.
release it, drop it at the specified location there. So you're not going to get caught up in any blades or anything like that, right? If it's too risky, too windy, the drone operator's not going to do it. But it's
Hmm.
$3.99 per delivery, right? It's select markets here. It's going to be a partnership with Drone Up. They're going to be operating here, new service in Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Texas, Utah, Virginia, out of 34 locations. So that's a pretty good size test. Potentially, they're saying up to 4 million people could be reached by that. But uh, pretty neat new service there. They say the top items that have been delivered so far, right? And keep in mind, this is Walmart customers. Walmart customers tend to have kind of a different profile, right? Everybody jokes about it. We know it. It's a little bit more hillbilly-ish, redneck, whatever you want to call it, right? I feel like I'm part of the club too. I love Walmart. Walmart's shopper there. But number one item by far, hamburger helper, right? So in honor, we've got all sorts of hamburger helpers here. Three cheese, cheesy ranch burger, Chef Boyardee, right? We're going Dr. Thunder diet, right? Because I want to watch my health there, right? But
There you go. There you
hey,
go.
you get it delivered, right? Like within an hour. Average deliveries, I'm hearing we're taking about 20 minutes or so, right? Like fairly quick turnaround in this test. And if anybody is in those markets and can order this, please like reach out to us here. Let us know. I'll personally reimburse you if you want to send a video to like just give us a heads up. You're going to do it. I'll pay you $50. You can order up a case of hamburger helper or whatever you want. Give us some footage here so we can share that out with the rest of the audience there. But hey, technology's coming, right? We've been hearing about it for a long time, and
Exactly,
but
exactly.
it's finally happening, right? Autonomous driving, like it's coming, and it's coming quick. And anytime you have a change in transportation like that, it really kind of it spurs these new businesses and benefits to all of us. So it's exciting times.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And think about it. Ordering something and within an hour, it's at your house, right? So I remember a couple of times when a whole bunch of people just kind of showed up at our place, and so I see Christina, my wife, being on the phone, and she goes Domino's, not sponsored by them, but she goes Domino's because their ordering system, online ordering system, is pretty awesome, and they give you kind of the status of where your pizza is. It's in the oven, it's out of the oven, it's in delivery, so you can kind of understand the whole process and kind of follow it. So again, a bunch of people show up. And so within, say, 30, 40 minutes, we've got a whole bunch of pizzas and we can feed all these people. And so now think about it as in terms of, people show up and you go, Walmart, I need you, right? And so you got a bunch of snack foods and movie situation is all kind of set up here all of a sudden. So the convenience is through the roof. So there's something about the drone deliveries. I think I'm imagining they're going to be delivering only up until like during the daytime, because flying after the dusk is a whole different thing, and that's a whole different permit. And
Right.
I'm not sure if at the corporate level they've given them that
They've
permit, but
they've
it's
said the hours there are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I know that works
there
in
you
the
go,
summer for most locations here,
there you
but
go, yeah, yeah.
wintertime, you're right, like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, right? It can be dark. So, yeah, we're definitely going to have to do a little bit more on that as that rolls out.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, if you guys end up ordering anything in Walmart and it gets to be delivered to you by drone, let us know. We would love to see it be a part of that experience. So. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Well, let's go back into our discussion here about the Russian oil and things like that. And so we've touched a little bit on the technology here, the drones, and Walmart being such an innovative company. I love Walmart. I mean, just all of a sudden, I mean, I remember back in the day, about 10 years ago, Walmart was like, why would you want to go to Walmart? It's Target, it's Whole Foods, it's Publix of the world. But all of a sudden, I mean, Walmart. If you've been to Walmart recently, I mean, there's a pickup location out there. There's leather couches out there. It's the customer service is pretty good. I mean, their policy of returns is amazing. And so it's almost like, and they're close, right? So I forgot the stats, but as far as, I mean, they're within like so many miles within like what 90 or 80% of households out here in the U.S. And so just think of that and think of this massive network of stores. And so you can tap
Yeah.
into
And
that. Yeah.
Anton, that's they have over 4,700 stores just in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So if you think about
That's crazy.
Amazon, their warehouses, these massive warehouses, that's all fine and dandy. But when you've got 4,700 locations and they're not usually boxed in, right? You go around to Walmart and they have significant property around their space, right?
Yeah.
So they could get creative, they can add on, they've set themselves up for the future here. Yeah, about 11,000 properties across the world now that Walmart
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
And they're really grabbing onto the technology, right? Reading the data. We've been talking about that a lot, right? With the data and the analysis. That's what made Tesla so great is not just building a car, but really diving deep into the data, the detail, right? And
Hmm.
working on their AI and millions of hours at this point, right, of video and beta programs and rolling that out and running different scenarios, right? That's what they're doing now, right? So we might think this is trivial, just kind of a test, but that's building the future, right? That's taking care of all these exceptions with weather and with tight spaces and power lines and so forth there. So yeah, this is significant, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it all started when they started losing some wind in their sales, right, to Amazon, and and then they figured it out. And so if they did, I'm puzzled why Sears didn't. But anyway, we're gonna talk about that next time. So let's go back into this whole technology piece that Matt shared with us, drones and things like that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everything that has to do with technology, software, hardware. I mean, it's amazing. There's a huge economy. So Chinese economy, I just looked it up recently. I think it's like a third of Chinese economy is dependent on electronics. I mean, just think about it. All types of electronics. Some of the most innovative companies are based out of there, like the drone companies. And I mean, they innovate fast. Nobody innovates as quickly as some of these Chinese companies, and they're truly Chinese. They're not American companies being set up in China. They are out there. Let's talk about the technology again here. So let's go into the whole thing of again gas prices being expensive, right? And so we're at the point where we're all kind of start thinking about it, right? And we say, if I don't have to pay for oil products, right, for gasoline, I would be better off. And in fact, if it takes $1.50 to charge my car, and I can run on that for a couple of 100 miles, I mean, come on, give me that electrical car. And so there's a couple of good news out there. So we see three major companies out there, at least the ones I kind of picked for us to discuss today. One of them is Volkswagen, right? We don't think of Volkswagen as the most innovative company out there, but they slowly but surely kind of take piece by piece and put the whole puzzle together for them. So the ID.4, that's a smaller SUV. I think that's the way you would call it. It's a smaller SUV, and it's going to be manufactured here out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that's exciting, right? And so it's one of those, like, it's an American market, it's a European market car. They're also developing another couple of cars. And so Volkswagen, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's still the largest automotive manufacturer out there in the world. So just think about it. And of course, that's partially because they have a ton of other brands being set up under the big umbrella. That's called Volkswagen. But so they've made this car is called ID.1, right? So that's a hatchback. That's a smaller car. We don't have a picture. I'll figure out the picture next time for you guys. But so that's more, I think it's going to be manufactured on mass manufacturing scale in Spain. So primarily for European market. Right, but then there's this one car that I couldn't help it, but I need to show it to you guys. And let me pull it up real quick. And it's also this whole ID, this ID, the ID.4, ID.1. So this one is called, I'm sure you guys have seen it by now, but it's called ID Buzz. And look at this car. I mean, this is one of those. What would you call this? Do you remember back in the day, SJ? What was the name of that car? The Eurovan, right? That was
Oh yeah,
one of the most
yeah,
popular things out there. All the you would think of surfing in Hawaii, you would think you're gonna pile up all these
yeah,
surfing boards on
yeah.
top of that Eurovan and go places. And so it's one of those so again feel good kind of car. And so just look at it, out of this world. We agree, right? So their whole purpose is let's go outside of the box, which I love. Let me just say it this way: I
Yeah.
love when I see companies being bold out there, and they're trying to say, "Hey guys, we're not sure if this is going to work, but we're just going out there because this small group of people told us it's awesome." And when they do, market supports them. I love it, even though it may not necessarily be that a choice of a car that I would go with, but like I don't know, I feel like I would totally drive this kind of thing. It's just
I like the lifestyle, right? Like there's something about that vibe, that lifestyle, that people
yeah,
just get it wanting to get out and travel. I think they want to connect with the outdoors, right? With just national parks, state parks, and like we're talking about with electric, like is this going to herald in a new kind of era as far as like, okay, air conditioning is fairly power intensive, right? But
yeah,
are you going to be able to go somewhere and sleep comfortably, overnight in the summertime and move on to your next destination? Yeah, there's just when you have unlimited power or it's readily available, like it just unlocks so much potential, right, on what you can do.
yeah,
And I
definitely.
think they're definitely on to something. I think in the past it's been kind of like haha, kind of childish in some ways here. But I think there's people really wanting to kind of like get back out there, connect with nature. Yes, you're going to drive hard, do all your techie things during the day. But man, when it's time to unplug, let's go unplug, catch a wave, do
Yeah.
some surfing. Yeah.
Yep, yep, exactly, exactly. And here's the thing: I love what Tesla is doing. I love Elon Musk, and I love how crazy he is, and all the stuff that he gets to say in just the last couple of days. We're not going to talk about that much. We've done enough of Elon Musk talks. But look at this car. I mean, look at what's inside of it, and can I just say it's a lot more fun, and it's a lot more maybe even practical than Tesla. I mean, just look at it. It's an actual car, right? It reminds you of a car. It doesn't remind you of a spaceship where there's just one big screen in the middle and that's it. It's you can see all kinds of gloves compartments here, and ooh, let's see.
Nice.
All right, can you hear me now?
There we go. There we go. All right.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is
All
the kind of
right.
thing that you
No
run into
worries.
when it comes to hosting live events. You see, so we're having such a great discussion. All of a sudden, just technology. Speaking about technology, I see I love technology, but
Right.
it's a mess
Right.
sometimes. So all right, so let's
Well,
yeah. I
you
was
do a
I was gonna
phenomenal job, Anton. Yeah, we're on a lot of platforms here. We got a lot going on at one time. So, yeah. All
yep, yep.
right. Back at it.
Yeah, let's go back to talking about this wonderful crazy car out there, right? So we said Tesla is such a cool car and everything, and it's a great a statement, sportish, fun to drive. There's no question about it. It's a wonderful car. But look at this car. It's so much more, I would say, practical and so much more fun. There's so much color and it's upbeat and it's, you want to put things in it and you want to pile it up with a bunch of people, a bunch of your friends, and go places, right? So when I see companies doing this kind of thing, I don't know, I just love it, right, Matt?
I love well, I think it's competition, right? That's driving some of this, right? It felt like car design was getting a little bit lazy inside. It was just getting kind of cheaper and cheaper. And like you said, that's just beautiful design, but it looks very functional at the same time as well too. Not having stuff in there just to have stuff, but trying to create as much space in there as possible, but make it very like accessible as well too at the same time.
Yep, definitely. So with this said, let's let's kind of go back to our conversation as far as EVs in general, right? So we are at the point where a couple of companies are making investments into EVs, and some of the major ones are. Let's see. So we've mentioned the Volkswagen ID.1, ID.4, ID. Buzz, and some are made for European markets, some are made for U.S. markets, larger car, smaller car. Variety of models. Hyundai is another one. We don't think of Hyundai for some reason as being one of these most innovative companies, but it's a highly vertically integrated company. It's two brothers. One owns a steel company, right, steel manufacturing, and another one essentially runs the auto manufacturing. So yeah, they're investing $5.5 billion in the U.S. So they're going to build a battery and car and a vehicle plants, and they're going to build them in Savannah, Georgia. So how exciting this is! So something about Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, something about this area here that's been such a hotspot for car manufacturers, right? So that's an interesting thing.
Southeast. Yeah,
Mhm.
really taking off there, right in the southeast here. And then I don't want to steal any of your thunder there, but it sounds like Chattanooga, right? Like a second plant potentially they're talking about now as well too. And the one that there is there now, right? It's already massive, and they're talking about another one, alongside of it. So it's great to see some of that manufacturing coming back to the US, right? Because it felt like
Mhm.
we were losing a lot of that manufacturing. We were losing out to Mexico, to China, to different locations there. But I think with some of the technology and the automation, Elon Musk's interview with the All In podcast there at the All In Summit, phenomenal, right? As far as like,
Mhm.
hey, they didn't necessarily want to produce all of their own materials. It's just the rate and the speed that they were moving at. They didn't want to. The traditional kind of car co-manufacturing, parts made at different locations, it just wasn't keeping up with them, right? That model just wasn't working. They wanted to innovate, move faster, and you're starting to see the only way you can do that, right, is if you bring back some of that manufacturing at least to the U.S.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we've discussed a couple of companies: Volkswagen, Hyundai. Hyundai is known these days for Ioniq 5. That's their new model, a more affordable model. It's cheaper than Model 3. It's fun. It's hatchback. It looks amazing. It looks nothing that's been out there. It's kind of like a ID. Buzz, but in a different kind of more vibe-ish, more like a youthful, upbeat kind of version of it. But and then another company that's also known to put up a bunch of investment here locally, speaking about us here, is Ford. Right, so the electrical truck is out there, and let me tell you something: that truck gets positive reviews. People love it. So independent reviewers who are known for just all kinds of snarky comments and not being very nice to car manufacturers, they are essentially saying we love it. It's fast, it's fabulous, it's amazing. Nobody knows about its hauling, capacity, capability, and what the battery is like when you do that, because there's something about Model Y. You remember that story when that couple from Chicago to California traveled in their Model Y, and they had a trailer behind it, and oh my goodness, it turned from this wonderful Instagram trip to just a nightmare, and they had to stop, I think, every 70 miles, if I'm not mistaken, every 100 miles. And that was so they've stopped like 17 times, I think, by the time they got to California. So it was not much fun. So we hope that Ford will kind of figure that part out, because it's a truck, right? There's something about the South. There's something about the truck. There's just something about, a guy wanting a big, humongous red truck out there. Not me, but it's out there. So we just hope that all of them, and see, that's another thing I wanted to kind of wrap it up with, Matt, and I know you want to say something, just really 2 seconds here.
Yeah.
I really hope that all of them will try to figure out the QA, quality assurance, because Bronco had some engine issues. They back ordered, they recalled close to 200,000 of those Broncos, right? The Volkswagen Atlas that's being made also here locally in Chattanooga. 250, 250,000 cars recall because of airbags. I mean, you don't want it to be recalled because of this kind of things. So Volkswagen is known for some quality issues. Hyundai's, I haven't heard much, but it's so we just kind of hope that once we switch from Russian oil, to EVs, we hope that those EVs are actually good. But yeah, Matt, you were gonna say something.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to jump in there, right? That Ford had came out. They said, "Hey, this is going to be 230 miles, right, for their base package, 320 miles with their extended package." There was a lot of rumors that this was kind of conservative. Ford with the truck, right? You may be weighed down as well too, right? When you're kind of full of your equipment, hauling, so forth. They were very intentional about carving out. I think it was something like 20% are like, hey, these aren't your, there's like the King Ranch model, right? Like you're kind of like higher end comfy models, right? Of the Ford F-150. No, we want work trucks, right? We want them out there in the field, right? Doing what Ford trucks were built on. So I think Ford was a little bit slower. But like you said, when it comes to quality assurance, I think that they may surprise a lot of folks there that this is a solid, well-built truck. Yep, it's still heavy duty. It's still the reason why Ford F-150 is, right? Ford's the number one truck out there for umpteen years running, right? So the truck's going to be loaded, ready to go, right? You're going to be able to open the hood, no engine up front, right? You're going to be able to plug in your drills and all your electric, your saws, everything like that, power right from it. You can power your house, supposedly. I think it was something for 2 days, right? With just, hey, instead of buying a generator, backup generator, why not just get an F-150 and, worst case, all right, plug it in. Yeah, okay, if you need to go charge it up, a few miles away, you can do that, come back. So, as of the beginning of January, there was 200,000 orders for the Ford F-150 Lightning, right? And it's gone up a lot since then.
Yeah.
So now, is everybody going to order that? I'm not sure, right? But there's definitely seems to be a backlog and a lot of love within that Ford community for this. And I think they're taking their time. They're going to try and do it right. And I think you're going to see those that get cheap and chintzy on this. I think you're going to see them really get hit hard and get knocked down, right? And those that really kind of exceed expectations are going to hang in there. There's nothing I hate almost worse than some of these cheap electric, let's say lawnmower, right? Like I've been looking to upgrade my lawnmower. I was using a friend's, just kind of jumping in, helping out there. And it was just built so chintzy and fell apart. It was breaking down like immediately, right? It wasn't the engine. It wasn't that part of the electric. It's just kind of the whole package that goes with it. So I think it's important if you're building anything around this EV space, that it's well built and it's better, right? It's not just because it's greener, it's more sustainable. No, it's a better product, right? I think is what's going to help you stand out.
Yeah, definitely. So Well, so yeah, that's when it comes to technology, and that's when it comes to EVs. So again, major investments are being done in certain countries, and we know Asia is kind of blowing up as a result of that. So yeah, we're just we're gonna keep our fingers on the pulse of that. Let's keep following the news because I'm looking forward to getting my first EV. Right.
Anton, I'm still jealous of your Hyundai Sonata there. Pretty slick looking car there. Very jealous. It goes great with the weather, the environment down where we're at there. So yeah, it's slick looking car there
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be proud of for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. All right, so let's see, and let's discuss I guess without going into much details here. I spent a little bit of time kind of fixing the microphone here, things like that. But so we know there's a lot also going on when it comes to real estate, right? And so let's jump into that particular subject. So real estate, what do we know about real estate, and are we facing at this point something that's not just a little bit of a price decrease to certain regions to are we in a full-blown real estate correction at this point? Last time we've reported to you guys that a third of properties in the US specifically decreased in price. One third of all real estate prices out there decreased for the first time, and and so what are we what are we facing right now? And so are we Matt, what's your thoughts in terms of are we at a full blown correction when it comes to real estate or not?
Yeah, I think my own thoughts here, and like you said, some of this can kind of depend what's going on regionally and where you're at, right? If you're in an area or a city where it's been kind of on the decline or people have been moving out, that's going to be very different than some destination cities, right? That we've been talking about that are growing, that are getting new factories, that are limited on supply. So, I love getting into real estate, seeing what's out there, whether it's commercial, residential, and I think when you're looking at prices showing coming down, I think there's some softness on like you just can't put up whatever astronomical number that you want, right? So you're starting to see for the first time where, okay, property got lowered $10,000. It's still $100,000 or $200,000 more than it was before, but it's kind of like, let's bring it down. I mean, that was my advice for friends, where it's like whatever number you think, like bump it up $50,000, because person after person was selling so quickly. They were getting offers immediately for it. So you can always come down. It's hard to go up. You can bid up in some areas. California is
Yeah.
used to that, where, all right, I put up a price, it's going to get bid up, right? Some areas, the Midwest, they're like, no, the expectation is you're going to come down 3-5%, right? Otherwise you're not you're not being nice. But different environment there now. But interesting, just came out here today here with the Case Shiller, the S&P CoreLogic index here. It was showing 21% increase, 21.2% through March. Right now we're kind of 2 months past that, right? February had gained 20%. So that's kind of an index of 20 cities that are out there. Tampa, right? Kind of a fun city of ours there, right? We've called out Tampa as kind of this like kind of an underrated city that's out there. It was up almost 35% over the last year. So it's 2 months later, and you got to figure, hey, even with the houses that are closing, let's say today, those offers were probably made about 30 days ago for that, right? By the time you actually go through your financing, closing, right? 3 or 4 weeks. So, it's a different market now, let's say, than it was then. But real estate's a very different asset than all the other asset bubble classes that we've seen of starting to pop, right? Whether it's crypto, whether it's the Nasdaq just taking a beat down. Home is a very different thing, right? When it comes to real estate, right? They call it's more sticky, right? It's going to take a while to come down. If you want to sell your property, right? Okay, you're going to think about it. Okay, talk to your realtor. Okay, that might be 30 days. And then you're going to put it on the market. And then that might be out there traditionally 30, 60 days. That's pretty normal for that too. Okay, and then you get a buyer. Maybe it goes through, maybe the inspection, maybe they come back. All right, okay, offer goes through, accepted. All right, it's still going to take another 30 days to close. So it's not just something you can liquidate your position very quickly. And during the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis, 2008, what we saw there was, 2008 really getting hit, but then, it really took 2 years for the prices to kind of fully soften up along the way there to get to the bottom. So, it's remarkable that it's held up, but it's a very different dynamic, like you said, right? The reasons that we're in a recession, or most likely, I feel like in a recession now, very different than the real estate bubble. Uh, Subprime mortgages, right? Lending from them. So, yeah, depends on your area a little bit or where you're at. But the material prices that went into your home, I think it was something like, what was it, $18,000 more, right, for the average home, with these material prices going up, right? Because fuel's going up, lumber's going up. But just recently here, lumber has really taken a beating back down, right, to
Yeah,
more
yeah.
kind of historic type levels. So that's lowering, right? So that's easing some of the pressure for building, but there's still not the inventory that's out there. And are people still looking to upgrade their homes, maybe a little bit larger space? You know, it looks like remote work is here to stay. So are people like, all right, I can make maybe a life change choice, right? I can live another hour away from work and just come into work once a month or a quarter, right? And be all right. So it's got a lot of legs, but hey, when you get what was it, about 14% of the market wealth was wiped out kind of here in recent weeks. That has real domino effects as well too. It's just a matter of, is other parts of the economy going to hold up? Is the confidence of people going to hold up to keep these prices up there? I was surprised just looking at my home here, and it softened up, but it's kind of right back up there. This is historically kind of a higher time of the year, right? Going into the late spring, summer, kids are out of school, people are moving. So it's kind of good timing wise, right, for the prices to kind of hold up there. I know some people would love for a market real estate correction right now so they could jump into the lower prices, but all right, now interest rates are at a higher price here. When the time's right for you, if the financials is right for you, I would say don't be afraid to get into real estate, because historically, right, they tend to go up. My grandparents bought their lake home with their boat with it for $4,500, right? This was way back in the day. And it was a nice property. Now it's probably a property that was worth $300,000-$400,000 now, right? Like pretty much as it is.
That's how many times more compared to what the yeah.
Right. I was looking at, hey, a cup of coffee back in 1941 was at 16 cents, right, for a cup of coffee, right? You see the
Oh,
signs
stop
for
it, Matt!
Coca-Cola,
Stop
5
it!
cents, 10 cents. Hey, inflation's a real thing, right? You can use it
It
to
is.
your advantage, or you can use it to work against you. If you're just going to stuff your cash underneath your bed mattress, you're going to lose value of that, right? You got to put it to work in some way. If you're in an asset and there's inflation going up, right, like that can kind of be a good thing, right? So I think that we'll talk about that more in the future too. But hey, if you're going to buy a business, does it make sense to buy a building, maybe rent it out to some others, or are you just going to be held hostage and just keep leasing it, right? There might be some advantages. You might not be locked into it, but there might be some significant advantages for doubling down on commercial real estate as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so what we've noticed that in the past few months or so, right, what's been going on is that there's, actually past couple of years, what am I saying? Once COVID started, the fact that some people left, massive exodus of Californians, to just all kinds of places. So that reshuffled real estate quite a bit. So 400,000 would get you certain, very probably small size home out there in California, right? Versus places like, even Florida, Texas, Tennessee, place like that. That gets you a whole lot more of a house. And so, I would imagine this equilibrium would be reached at a certain time, right? So it's not going to last forever. So high real estate price areas are going to be, prices are going to be lowered, and then the other areas are going to be increasing. So at some point, it's just going to all kind of being brought more or less to equilibrium, which is kind of like what's happening at this point, as far as I understand the market. But yeah, so now that again, we're gonna keep you guys posted, and let us know if you get any sort of additional information about real estate, if you have any sort of experience with that, if you want us to maybe discuss certain aspects of it, or if you want to jump here on the call and educate us all on what real estate is all about and how to invest in it right, and maybe a commercial real estate. I've got a couple of friends who can actually help us with that, so I'll tap them on the
Yeah.
shoulder maybe next time, and we'll ask them a couple of questions. And speaking about questions, so we get quite a bit of questions from you guys. I know we're attempting to kind of wrap up here, and so our last section is always here. Is where we try to answer some of the questions. And so the question that I have been facing a couple of times in the past 2 or 3 weeks that we haven't met here was about the following. Was about and it's not just the last couple of weeks. It's been a conversation in the startup community and a small business community for quite some time. So bootstrapping or selling an equity, right? Selling a part of your business in exchange for a good chunk of money and scaling up faster. And so the question again that always goes around in terms of I think it has to do a lot with risk, right? When you're bootstrapping, it's you, and if you end up losing, it's you're losing something that's near and dear to you, be it company and the property you put in exchange for that company, right? But at the same time, you're not liable, right? You're not liable to any sort of you're not over leveraged, and so in this case, I definitely think when it comes to bootstrapping and VC, I think of it in terms of growth and scaling, right? There's a great book out there that's called Do Scale, and it essentially points out to this concept, which it was every time I thought about it before, it was intuitively that way, but it kind of gave me a language that I start using. So it's two different activities if you think about it, right? There's a growth and there's scaling. And so when I think of bootstrapping, I think of growth, right? I think of that initial, polishing up operations kind of growth. That is, so you can bootstrap and open one McDonald's, right? And I'm going air quotes here, McDonald's, and optimize how much ketchup goes on a burger. How much of that burger stays on the frying, whatever that area is called, grill. And what's the temperature and things like that. And then once you dial it in, and once people are flocking to this one particular shop, store, location, you can bootstrap that, right, to a certain extent. And especially right now, banks are, if you've got a property, there's a home equity line of credit, HELOCs, right? They're out there, so you can leverage a couple of your own personal, or if you've got 401k IRA, you can borrow against it and things like that. So you can pull a couple of things in terms of out of your pocket and borrow from yourself, so to say, right? If you truly believe in this idea. So that's what I think when it comes to bootstrapping. But at the same time, there is a point in your life, and this is where Matt is a lot more of an expert. He's been working at a pretty good sized organizations out there and dealt with it, has been on the boards. And so, Matt, I'm kind of looking at you right now for the second part here. So bootstrapping and growing yourself to a certain point. But what happens then? Once that McDonald's, that one location is up and running, and the ketchup amount and the burger is well done, right? I mean, people are ready. Mm-hmm. What do we do then, right? Can you scale without tapping into some sort of a VC, some sort of funding out there? And if we do, how do we do this?
Yeah. No, it's a great question there. I think let's start at the top there as far as from the VC side of things. VC side's most likely not happening unless you're growing at least 100, 300% per year. And that's probably more focused on like some type of technology, right? Or something that's like a seismic change that's taking place out there, in the markets there, right? So, okay, more of the bootstrapping type model, right? I think that's more kind of our sweet spot here with the audience we have that we're excited about, that's scaling and how to do that. What I found is that's a very tricky kind of point to get to, where you're like, hey, I've got this good thing going, but I'm kind of maxed out. I'm kind of tapped out. I'm putting all my money back I'm reinvesting it into the business. So I show up to the bank and I don't necessarily have these like incredible numbers because I'm kind of putting it back in, right, to like kind of growing that business. But maybe my growth number looks good. Maybe it's 10, 20, 30% a year, right? And eventually the bank looks at that. We're like, hey, I think you've got something going. Looks like you've got some assets here, right? You've got to have collateral. You can't just show up to the bank and ask for money, right? It's regulated, so you've got to have some form of collateral or consistent revenue that's profit that's coming in, free cash flow for that. But that's one of the big opportunities I see out there. That's some side projects that I'm working on there as well too, where you see these great kind of community companies that like really add. Maybe it's a coffee shop, right? That's like, man, this is just transformed an area. Can we replicate this in other areas? But they just don't quite have the funding yet, right, to get to that next level, right? So, like you said, there's some levers you can pull, maybe on your own balance sheet. You don't want to lean in too far though, right? To hurt yourself here. You don't want to wipe out your retirement or have to foreclose on the home, move out there. So that's challenging to get to the next level. Some of those areas of opportunities are definitely with some of the small business administration loans. So SBA loans, just do a Google search on it. We're not going to talk about it in depth this time, but there are some very structured programs out there, depending on your business, where that might qualify, right? So maybe you're a veteran, right? Okay, there's some programs for that, right? Maybe you're building and adding jobs in your community, and it's kind of maybe a distressed area, or it's been recognized as, hey, this area needs some development, right, by the state. There's partners out there, right? We've got some great ones there in Chattanooga, right? With Brightbridge is one that's out there where, hey, they are focused on how do you kind of finance these kind of companies that are kind of in that in-between position. They're not high growth, so that venture capital is completely off the table. It's really scaling up. So, maybe it's a couple $100,000, maybe it's $500,000. So, you're probably not going to borrow that from your uncle or your family members there. But there's some programs out there, the 504C, the 7A, right, to tap into some significant dollars there, up to about $5 million, where the federal government steps in and says, okay, bank, I'll be that kind of backup, right? If this thing goes south, if this goes bust, we'll back that up. Right. And then the banks are kind of good with their lending requirements that they're regulated out there for. So depends on your business. And I think that's what we're going to talk about a lot more in Growth Clinic, right? Depending on your business, let's go through maybe 3 different examples of what those are. And again, let's get one of those experts in there here from our community. They love to talk about it. And I love it because it's just, man, for certain businesses, if you can come in with $500,000, you can change that area, right? You can change lives in that community, right, with what you can offer. But a lot of times that takes a little extra help. And that's what we're talking about building community, right? Like, how do you build a board of advisors around you or a board of directors? And that may sound a little crazy outside your comfort zone, but we're going to make it really comfortable for you on how that's done and kind of make it in a fun way so that, you can see that, hey, this is worth your time. This has real benefit for it, for you, for your family, for your community, and and level up your business so you're not tapped out, kind of leveling off, like tends to be the case with a lot of businesses.
Yeah, definitely. And so, again, bootstrapping VC and like Matt mentioned, SBA loans or other funding methods are out there. Crowdfunding is one of them. Micro loans, depending on what you do, and depending what the country that you're in, because sometimes, a few $1,000s here in the U.S. and Europe that may not get you that far, right? But a couple of thousand if you are, say, in South America, Eastern Europe, India, it'll actually get you far. And so it's not sometimes really hard to find that kind of VC, right, so to say, or angel investor out there. So I think this is a great point that you've touched on, Matt. This is a question that we're being asked a lot, and so we just need to kind of tap a little more into it, educate ourselves, invite a couple of people that have done work in that. I know that we've got a couple of bank partners here locally who work with SBA products, things like that. So, and I'm actually thinking of a couple of people. We would love to kind of reach out to them and say, hey, would you guys want to come up and educate us on that? And so, because we know there's a couple of you out there who are looking into funding your hustle, so to say, right? Your side gig. And you may very well be at the point where you are ready, right? So the growth is kind of translating itself into the let me build another McDonald's, right? And so again, I go with air quotes, another location, another spot, another line of product and things like that. And so, but yeah, well, so yeah, this is great. So we probably need to be wrapping up here fairly soon. What I wanted for us to end on, and let me take this one down, and the one piece of news that I was kind of excited to see, and every time I see this kind of piece of information out there just kind of floating and grabs attention of other people is so there's a research, and there's an article out there that discusses the following. So it says showing signs of stress could make us more likable and prompt others to hold on, just disappeared on me. Prompt others to act positively towards us. So again, showing signs of stress could make us more likable, right? And could help us connect with other people. And so that I can't help it but to think of our mutual friend, Dr. Chris Collins, who mentioned quite a few times. He said at the intake, when he enrolls a patient into his practice, right, he gives his questionnaires, and there's a long list of symptoms out there, and he's saying which one out of these do you have, so he can kind of holistically approach it and say you may actually be in need of such and such therapy versus my therapy. And so I don't ever forget what he said. He said almost every single person out there who shows up at his place checks the anxiety box, right? And it's an anxiety pandemic out there, right? We may not realize it. We may all think that it's happening to me only, right? But it's out there. I think it has a lot to do with our health. I think it has a lot to do with like microbiome and stuff that we eat and things like that. That's being a hardware component. And of course, there's a software component, right? Where it's the thoughts, it's the logics that you build. It's the internal, that framework that kind of resets you every single time, whether you've developed it or not, whether you've matured to it or not. Your spiritual component, I think it's all being a part of it. But I think there's something about this that is so fresh and that is so just so wonderful. So we try to hide the fact that we're nervous, the fact that this is our 4th episode, Matt, right? We're trying to hide it. Look at us. We're here, on the high horse, and we've got our cameras going and everything, and all of a sudden the audio drops. What do you do? So it's been a part of it. And so I think when we show the fact that we are nervous and the fact that we may be experiencing something that is very human, right? In this environment where we are, markets are going down, there's a war going on. You're not nervous? What in the world is wrong with you? That's my question. But it makes you more likable, and it prompts others to act more positively towards us. So just keep this in mind, and don't ever stop being human, because that human component of us is what helps us to connect with each other, right? We're all quirky. We're all gonna take off these nice shirts right now, right, and go into our PJs and just kind of do some funny, quirky things out there. And so we just all invite you guys to join this community that says it's okay to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. Just be you and be nervous and show all the signs of it. And we know Elon Musk, who's out there and who's most influential person. Well, in fact, I think second most influential person, right after president of Ukraine. That's Time magazine, if I'm not mistaken. They put that, how they put the top 10, top 20, whatever, most influential people out there. But Elon Musk, we know all about, and he's very open in just recent couple of interviews where he discusses like his mindset, right? His childhoods, how he built that Tesla and Model 3, and how hard it was, and how he had to spend. He said he went through hell. That was such a. We probably should cut like a short clips of it for next time and just kind of discuss maybe that because it prompts so many questions. How willing are we to go at those lengths, to build something, right? So, but hey, if you're not okay tonight, it's okay. It's fine. Just remind yourself that you're human. Connect with other humans. Don't connect with robotic androids that are, every time you ask them how you're doing, they're always doing great. Everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. My business is through the roof. One of my good friends here in Chattanooga, she said once, she said, "Hey, we're all trying to win it." We're all trying to win it. It's okay. I think I think we just all need to be a little bit more humans, especially if we want to connect with other people, which is extremely important for our mental health, for the sake of others. When we think that our problems are the largest and the highest, well, look around, right? There may be a person right next to you, not too far, just across the street. And I'm literally thinking about my neighbor who lives across the street. And when I think of him, I think of how wonderful my life is. So yeah, anyway, Matt, I don't know if you wanted to add anything here, but
I think, when we use the term stress, like it's such a broad word, right? It can be very negative, right? If somebody's stressed out or around me and they're running around the office and they're like stressing other people out, right? That's not the type of stress that motivates other people, right? But it's that vulnerability, right? When you're like, you know what, I'm kind of stressed here. And like maybe you're presenting on stage, right? And you're like, I'm kind of stressed here. And people like tend to shift, right? And they tend to be encouraging, right? That's the type of vulnerability, right? When you're creating that community. It's stressful to just like go up to a new person, right? Or introduce yourself, or maybe you've gone to a new church, right? Like it's stressful, right? Like you sweat, you feel it. But then, somebody steps in, they start talking to you, you meet this new friend, you meet this new community, and it's the most wonderful thing ever, right? And it makes you wonder sometimes, like, why do we try and avoid stress so much, right? I was listening to an interesting interview today there about college there. They put their students through stress, right? Like Stanford University. There's a class, they put them through stress. Startup community, right? Make them present every week. They know they're not doing great, but they just put them under that stress, and it kind of builds that community around them that gets rid of that fear, that anxiety. You look at everybody else, they're kind of bombing as well too. And you kind of get over that, right? Stress is a big part of what makes you grow, right? Like if you're not feeling any stress, right, you're not particularly growing. There's different types of stress, right? There's that, hey, I've got an ill family, member. That's to me a very different stress than, man, I'm really trying to figure out how to tweak this business model or build this website or get better at photography, right? Like you're the one that told me like, hey, show me your work, right? Like get it out there. You encourage the group, show me your work. And I'm really starting to understand that more, where it's like, I have to get out there, right? I went out to the farmer's market last week and I took my camera and I'm taking pictures, right? And you feel kind of stressed. You're like, isn't this fun just taking pictures? It's like, no, you're kind of capturing other people, right? While they're doing their thing. And like, it's a little bit stressful, but it's like, how else do I get better at my work, right? And I could watch a million YouTube videos and I feel like I have, but until you get out there and you shoot and you do that and you immerse yourself in that stress, you're not really going to level up, right? And you're going to remember things from that. Then you're going to go back to your YouTube videos, right? And you're going to be like, now I know what they're talking about, right? And then you're going to go back in the field and you're going to do it again, right? So you've got to learn to go towards the right stress that's out there, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
When you're in community, right? That's where you're going to grow from it.
Yeah, definitely. And also think about it in terms of the growth. I mean, putting stress on your muscles, right? I mean, that's what we call gym, right? It's good for you. It's one of those things that, like, unless you put that type of stress, on them, I mean, you're never going to get stronger. And then we see a strong people, right? And we're like, whoa, the benefits of putting stress on yourself on a regular basis is wonderful. And this is what really growth mindset is all about. Static mindset says, I'm good where I am, and I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm good. I don't want to disrupt that, because when I go out there and I show what I can, sometimes I'm not capable. And that makes me feel like I'm not smart and I'm not beautiful and I'm not good. So growth mindset says, who cares? I mean, I go out there and I lose audio in the middle of a live stream, and that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to learn. You got to plug that battery thing a little tighter. That's an opportunity to understand that there's more out there, and then there's opportunity for growth. Great, it's a blind spot that has been discovered. So we encourage all of you guys to kind of participate in this community where it's okay not to be okay. Let's go this way. And a community that is excited about growth, and community that's wants to go out there and do things. And so we are about to kind of get us going as a community a little bit more. We've been taking it super, super slowly, and we're just kind of adding one little thing on top of our live streams. I've posted a couple things on LinkedIn. We're going to go full blown when it comes to advertising our next events. Things like that, and then we hope to see just a couple of more of you participating in these live streams. I know most of you are watching this in recording, so this was live. This is not a video that's been shot out there and posted. This is live, and so we invite you guys to join us next time. So, anything, Matt, you wanna mention at the end before we take off?
I just want to thank my sponsors here: Chef Boyardee, Hamburger Helper, Dr. Thunder, right? I'll see you out at the next NASCAR, the Toyota Save Mart 350 in a couple weeks there. But no, just thanks for jumping in there with me, Anton. Like you said, it's very different now than it was 4 weeks ago there, or 4 episodes ago when we first started there. Just put yourself out there, jump in there, reach out to us, connect with us here. Let's grow together.
Yep, definitely. Well, good to see you guys all. Again, stay in touch and join us for our next events. And until then, we'll see you guys later, okay? Peace.
All right. See you guys.
This is better, Matt. This is awesome.
All right. Drink your water. Drink your water, everybody.
Cheers.